What you say, fellow advocates? Reggie B, aka the Growth Advocate, coming at you once again with another video. So, in this video, we're gonna talk about money. Many people, this is their favorite topic of discussion. But specifically, we're gonna be talking about wasting money because as people, we can be so wasteful, especially when it comes to money. We can be some money wasters. I tell you what, but that's what we're gonna talk about. And basically, my purpose of this video is for you to be mindful when it comes to our finances. Now, let you in on something. I am not a financial expert. I am not a financial advisor. Once again, I'm just encouraging people to be mindful when it comes to spending money. Now, as we talk about this topic and we go over the things in this video, I want to share with you two things when it comes to wasting money because I feel like there are at least two things that can set us up to waste our money that can put us in a situation where we fall for the okey doke, that we fall in that trap. And the first thing that I want to talk to you about is the impulse buying situation. Now, if you've been a consumer long enough, like I have, we have been caught up in impulse buying. By show of hands, show me if you have made an impulse purchase. I know I have. I made an impulse purchase before and I've regretted, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like many of us have been there. So let's say you are in that situation where you're making a decision whether you're going to buy a product or a service. And you're just really thinking about it right then and there. You're right there. You feel like this is like an amazing product. It's an amazing service. It is needed. It can be very beneficial to us. It can be very useful to us. And then along with that, we have the salesperson in our face telling us how amazing this product and or service is. So we buy in. So we tell the salesperson, you know what? Put me down for 10 of those. I'm going to go ahead and get that. Go ahead and wrap it up. We're going to go to the register and we're going to buy it, right? So after a while, after the purchase, after the fact, we may say to ourselves, you know what? It wasn't even that deep. I really didn't need to buy that product or service. But you know what? We made that decision anyways. So with that being said, what I would like to do is I would like to share with you two tips for us to prevent ourselves from making that impulse buy. Two tips. Now, the first tip that I want to share with you, I feel like this is a common tip. I feel like if you're familiar with impulse buying, you're more than likely familiar with this tip. And tip number one is to wait at least 24 hours before you decide to make that purchase or not. And I feel like that is a good amount of time to determine for you to just really think it over. Think about it. Just ask yourself, do I really need this product? Would it be very beneficial to me? So as you're thinking about that, as that time passes, I feel like at that point, you can make an informed decision whether you should go ahead and make that purchase, right? And I feel like if it's meant to be, it will be. Now, after you tell yourself, if you really just convince yourself that you really need that and you really need it, right? Then go ahead and make that purchase. But if you don't really need it, if you feel like it's not going to really be beneficial to you, that it's not going to be of use to you, then don't buy it. But I feel like having that 24-hour period, and sometimes we may need longer than that. Sometimes we might need 48 hours, maybe even longer than that. But I feel like that's enough time for us to make that determination whether we really need to make that purchase or not. And I feel like that it can really save us a lot of heartache, right? So the first tip that I wanted to share with you, that I have shared with you, is to wait at least 24 hours before deciding to make that purchase. Now, tip number two is to create a list. Now, when you hear this, those who are watching, when you hear this, the first thing that may come to your mind is a shopping list. Yes, a shopping list can be a part of that as well. Along with that, just a list in general of things you feel like that you may need, or you may feel like that could be beneficial or of use to you, right? So not only a shopping list for when we go to the grocery store, but just maybe things that you need around the house. It could be a vehicle or it can be a personal need, whatever the case may be. I want to encourage you to create a list. Write down the things that you feel like that is necessary for you, right? So it can be food, it can be things around the house, like maybe a shed in the backyard or something like that, or something that you can use around the house, right? So I feel like creating a list will better prepare us just in case we get in a situation where it may be like potentially an impulse buy. So if you go into a business or into a store or whatever, or if you're faced with a salesperson and you are presented with a situation where you want to buy something. So now instead of you just making that knee-jerk reaction and buying it, you're better prepared. Now you can say to yourself, or you can ask yourself, is this particular product or service on my list? And if it is on your list, then from there you can say, okay, is it the most important thing? Is it at the top of my list to buy, or is it in the middle? Is it at the bottom? And then from there, you can decide whether or not to make that purchase. And I feel like creating a list, as I mentioned, we go into a situation better prepared, but that can save us a lot of heartache as well. So those are two tips I wanted to share with you when it comes to impulse buying and how to prevent us from making that impulse purchase. So it was wait at least 24 hours and create a list. So that's the first thing that I wanted to share with you in regards to wasting money, a particular trap that can put us in that situation, and that is impulse buying. The second thing I want to share with you is about our basic needs. And what are those basic needs? Those basic needs are shelter, it is food, and it is clothing. So, with that being said, I got a question for you in regards to our basic needs. Is it possible at all for us to waste our money on basic needs? And I say, you know what? Anything is possible. I feel like that we could indeed potentially be in a situation where we are wasting money on our basic needs, which are food, clothing, and shelter. So let me break it down for you. When it comes to food, when it comes to you got cooking at home and then you got eating out. And I feel like, if you're eating out, we could potentially be wasting our money on food, which is a basic need, because it has been said that eating out is more expensive than eating at home. Although we have bought some groceries, we bring it home, we got snacks, we didn't cook the meal. Now, there have been times, with that being said, that we have a meal at home, we got snacks at home, but we choose to eat out anyways. Now, there may be some exceptions, maybe. But I feel like for the most part, what do you feel anyways? But I feel like for the most part, eating out, for the most part, will put us in a situation where we are wasting money. Let me know what you think about that. Feel free to leave a comment below. So there's food and then there's clothing, right? You got like high value brand clothing versus perhaps an off brand clothing, or maybe a brand that's not highly regarded, right? So you could be potentially wasting your money on clothing if you decide to go with the high value brand, right? Because basically, if you think about it, clothing is basically used just to cover our bodies. Now, you want to ask yourself, if you purchase that high value brand, do you really need that? When you could potentially go with a cheaper brand or an off brand, right? I mean, that can be our shirts, it can be our pants, our shoes, whatever the case may be. We could also be potentially wasting our money on clothing, which is another basic need. So we cover food, we cover clothing, and then there is shelter. Shelter basically fulfills our basic needs. It's, giving us a place to stay. giving us a place to live in comfort, but we could be potentially wasting our money on shelter because you have living above your means versus living below your means. Now, depending on your situation, you may be a single man or a single woman, but then you could be married, have a significant other that's living with you. Along with that, you and your significant other may have kids, or you may have some type of family dynamic. Now, you definitely want to purchase your shelter, whether it's a home, whether it's an apartment, according to your situation. But sometimes some of us go beyond that. We can put ourselves in a situation where we are living above our means for whatever reason when we don't necessarily need to. We can pretty much get what's tailor made for us, right? So, with that being said, I feel like if you put yourself in a situation where you are living above your means, there's potential for you to be wasting money on another basic need, and that is shelter. So let me know what you think about that, right? And in closing, we talk about impulse buying. We speak on basic needs, right? So I want to encourage you to consider this, to think about this. When it comes to making any purchase, I got 3 words for you that I want you to consider. Return on investment. ROI, the good old ROI. I want you to consider this. Whenever you are spending money, I want you to consider your return on investment. What are you getting when you make a purchase? What are you getting in return, right? When you're making that impulse buy, when there's a situation where you could potentially make that impulse buy, that's what's great about that 24-hour period. As you're thinking about it for those 24 hours, you can ask yourself, one of the things you can ask yourself is, what am I getting in return for buying this product or service? And does it make sense, right? Then you talk about your basic needs. What am I getting in return? Are my needs being fulfilled? Am I going beyond that? So I definitely want to encourage you to consider that when it comes to making a purchase, the return on investment, the ROI. What are you really getting out of it when you spend money on that product or service or whatever the case may be? So peace and blessings to you as you continue your journey. So let me know what you think about this topic. We are talking about wasting money because we can be some money wasters, y'all. Out, or maybe I'm just speaking for myself. I don't know. But feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about this topic. Once again, I just want to encourage you to be mindful when it comes to our finances, when it comes to spending our money. Don't fall for that trap. Don't fall for that trap of being in a situation where you have to make an impulse buy, and just be mindful of your basic needs. Make sure they're being fulfilled. Make sure that you're not putting yourself in a situation where you are living above your needs if you don't have to. You know, food, if you feel like that is necessary to just eat at home, I feel like that would be beneficial to you. I feel like, with maybe a few exceptions, right? With maybe a few exceptions, you can eat out. But for the most part, when it comes to food, cook your food at home. It's cheaper and sometimes it's healthier. But once again, I am Reggie B, aka the Growth Advocate, and I appreciate you all tuning into this video. And until the next time, keep growing and keep going.